Hey guys, it's day 13. Guess who got a little haircut today? Doesn't she look so cute? Yes, you do. But today's been a hell of a day. So, went to gym in the morning, but my left knee was playing up again because I think I lifted too heavy last week and I was a bit not paying attention. So, I could not lift so heavy today, which is a good thing. I think it's a reminder for me to slow down and remember that I need to gym with intention, not just lift heavy. So probably about 2 months ago, I started seeing a new personal trainer. And what I got out of that was I've just been lifting heavy to build muscle without having the base fundamentals right. So I really took some time to slow down. I wasn't increasing my weights or anything. I actually went backwards for a while, but I think I built a good base. But now I'm not seeing that trainer anymore because he's moved overseas. I'm realizing I'm slipping back into old habits of just almost going to the gym mindlessly. I'm not paying that much attention, and it's back to the routine of just trying to increase the weights, which is not a good thing. So I think the big reminder for myself is to really slow down. I'm hoping as I'm saying this, my brain is going to process it and to focus on form more than anything else. And if the form is not right and I'm not focused, like, don't lift. It's almost like punishing myself because obviously I want to keep building more muscle, but I realize I have to lift in a way that's good for my body because that's what is most sustainable for the long term. Aside from that, I went to sit on a chair this morning and I slipped and fell and landed on the tiles. The good thing is I don't think I broke anything, but it was quite a hard fall. Because, again, I go to the gym, I lift weights, I think I'm generally quite healthy. I land on my wrist and everything. Like, boom, but my wrist seems fine. So that's the real good news. The bad news is I think there's a bit of like soreness, which makes sense from my backside and my back as a result. And I've been standing all day, so that is not too crazy. In other news, work has been very challenging. The trademark issue that I told you guys about yesterday, we spent today trying to come up with a new name and we still couldn't come up with it because when we first picked the name, we picked it based off the brand vibe and it matched. And then we subsequently went and picked brand colors, even the font that goes with the brand writing, and we built everything up based off this brand name that we had picked from the very start. And now we have to swap it out and we're almost trying to do everything backwards. We have a concept that's already built and we're trying to find a name which matches it, which is really hard. So we spent the whole day trying to do that, and I think I ultimately realized it might not be possible to fit a name backwards into a concept that was already developed based on a previous name, which makes logical sense. But this has taken us probably like 3 weeks of work to get to this stage. So it's kind of frustrating that now we might have to go back to square one and start again. The lesson I have learned from this, if I have a lesson, is not to pick too regular of a word or a word that seems common. So again, santai comes from the Malay or Indonesian word to relax, to chill, which actually in most geographies there wasn't an issue. This is just a freak incident that someone had also taken the name, had trademarked the name Santa already, which is, from a Vietnamese person's perspective who doesn't speak English, Santa and santai are very similar. So my sharing with you guys would be try to pick something that's much more obscure. So the longer the word is, the less likely, unless it's like a common word. So apparently there's one brand that's called Absolutely that's trying to get a trademark at the moment, but it's having issues because there's another brand, someone registered the brand Absolutely. To a English speaker, Absolutely and Absolutely, two completely different things. But obviously for a Vietnamese person, they actually sound quite similar. So that's why they're having issues. So pick a long word, but not a common word. The longer it is, the easier it's going to be for you to get trademark in your area that you need. Yeah, that's my lesson learnt from today. In other news, today I was scrolling on Instagram and I read this post. It has a picture of, what is it, Tyrion Lannister? It's from Game of Thrones, if anyone has watched that. And there's a quote which says, "We are all selective sinners. We choose the sins we are comfortable with and judge others for the ones we can't accept." And I was like, holy shit, that's so right. Sin, I guess you can say everyone is a sinner. What does it mean to sin? That's another discussion. Is it based on religion? Things like that. But the most interesting thing is that that's the second part of this quote. We choose the sins we are comfortable with and judge others for the ones we can't accept. I think an example here is if you are someone who eats meat, so you're not a vegetarian or vegan, you're like, it is okay to kill animals, to eat them, but it's not okay to kill humans. But then from someone who's a vegetarian or vegan's perspective, they're like, it's not okay to kill animals and it's not okay to kill humans. But then the vegetarian or vegan might be like, but it's okay to kill mosquitoes because they're pests. And then if you go see a Buddhist monk, they're going to have a different perspective. And the point of all this is we see the world from our perspective and we judge people based on the perspective that we have. And it was just kind of eye-opening to me today to realize that, since putting my relationship online, 4-person relationship, there's all these comments from different people. Everyone has their opinion. And slowly I'm realizing that everyone's opinion is so based on what they see. So we just posted a vlog that we filmed of us going to pottery. For those people who know us really well, Peter and I are extremely close. Like, I remember Peter and I went to Burning Man. We'd only been together maybe a year and a half, but we just click. We are like two peas in a pod. He's my best friend and I'm his best friend. And if I ask him that, he will say that, I guarantee you. But everyone also knows, if you knew Peter well, he's not a very physically affectionate person. He shows his love and care in different ways. For example, if I finish dinner, like I'm doing work today, whilst I'm eating dinner, and Peter will see that like I'm still doing work even though I finished my food. I'm literally like scooping food into my mouth mindlessly, and then I'll finish and I'll put the spoon down. I'm still thinking about work. I'm like drawing on the iPad or whatever, and he'll come and like clear the bowls because he's finished eating first. That's kind of how he shows love, through acts of service and quality time. Physical touch is not his love language. But interestingly enough, people who are watching our YouTube content with our other channel, with our other two boyfriends, pick this up and they're like, oh, Peter and Techie are not close. There must be something wrong, something's happening, like all these assumptions. And that's like one person. But then you see someone else's perspective. Oh, not everyone's into physical touch. Just because they're not touching doesn't mean they're not close. And it's the same video. Two people have watched the exact same video but come to different conclusions as to what might be happening in our relationship. Not to say that one is right or one is wrong. Like, one more accurately represents our current situation, but not one is better than the other. They're just both two judgments on the same video. The interesting part is that there are two different judgments on the same video, and it makes you question, how do people arrive at these different judgments despite seeing the same thing? And what I've realized, again, similar to that quote at the start, people see the world and their interpretation of the world is based on the experiences that they've had in life. So I'm assuming the person who left the comment about the physical touch one, them in their lives, or let's say their relationship with their partner, they must be extremely physically affectionate, and that's the way that they show love. That is their love language, physical touch, or one of like their key love languages. Whereas a person who recognizes that not everyone is into physical touch may personally not like physical touch either, and that's why it makes more sense to them. So when looking at the world and interpreting it and whatever is happening in the world, I think it's so important to make sure that you remember how you're seeing everything is based on your subjective experience. And when someone disagrees with you, yes, there are some people out there who disagree with you just because they get a kick out of it, but I don't think most people disagree with you because of that reason. Let's say it's even your partner. It's just because they literally have a different perspective of the world. And I think that's actually one of my favorite things about Peter. He's not that similar to me. He's quite different. So how he sees the world is very different. And as a result, my worldview has grown from the benefit of being his boyfriend, his being his partner, and being with him. For example, today I was visibly stressed over this whole trademark brand name issue, and Peter came to me and said, why can't you just mentally associate a new brand name that you have with the brand concept that you develop? And I'm sitting there explaining to him, oh, it's more of an emotional thing. Logically, it's definitely possible, but it's about going through the thought process to try and make the connections and make everything make sense. Because what I've realized is if you're not clear on the brand concept, as you make decisions further on down the line, let's say you have to do a photo shoot marketing campaign, it's very hard for you to choose what you want to do. Like, let's say shoot location, should you do a beach house, or maybe you should do urban garden? Which one are you going to go with? If your branding isn't clear, you don't know which one to choose. So that's what I was trying to explain to Peter. It's more of an emotional thing, even though logically you could tie the brand concept back to a new name and you can make connections. Peter's very logical. So after I explained that to him, yeah, it like shifted my perspective a bit. It shifted his perspective, and then hearing him talk, it also shifted my perspective. And what we concluded was, because we were so set on the name and we built everything around it, anything else at the moment is going to sound worse, like literally a worse option, because our brains have not had time to process that we need to change. So the outcome of my discussion with him was, maybe we should just chill for a bit, which is one of the things actually we printed on this sticker that was sticking on the box. When in doubt, just chill out. And I think that's what I need to do probably for the rest of the day, and try not to think about this work situation, even though it's like the biggest headache that I currently have right now. But I guess it's a good headache. Honestly, what I always remind myself is that I would rather have this headache than be working in my old corporate job, which I really did not enjoy. So it's a good headache to have, I guess, is my answer. That's today, and I will now check some comments and try to reply to some. This is from the day 11 video. There are a few funny comments. One person said, you are not wearing black. Yes, I own tank tops in navy / blue as well. I cannot believe someone commented on that. That's kind of funny. The idea for the brand is hopefully not just to have black tank tops, because I think I need a bit of diversity in my wardrobe. Someone else asked, aren't you afraid that your relationship will deteriorate in the future? That's a interesting question, because this is such a complex question. I cannot answer this by myself. I definitely need Peter's help. But I need to go see him because he's still working on videos, and then I'm going to bring him back if he wants to come back, and then I'm going to keep answering this question. But yes, that's how we will do it. Give me a sec. Oh, before I go get Peter, I know one of the things Peter's going to say is, but our relationship could deteriorate even if we weren't in this situation. So it's like, in many ways, a two-person relationship is normal, and you think that's the best bet. But if you actually look at divorce rates, breakup rates, it's actually extremely high. So just because we stay in a two-person relationship, from our perspective, the risk of our relation deteriorating or breaking up is not any lower or higher than than our current situation where we have another 2 boyfriends. I think that's what Peter is going to say. He could give a really intelligent answer, or it could be as blunt as that. I don't know. I brought back Peter successfully. He was not a willing participant, but he agreed to come because it's an interesting question. So I think someone asked out of genuine curiosity. Last time we were talking about our relationship with the boys and how like we have additional boyfriends, and someone asked, "Aren't you afraid that your relationship will deteriorate?" And I think they are asking about my relationship with you, like our relationship. So how I started answering it was I think your answer, I told them what you would say is that the likelihood of our, let's say relationship deteriorating equals breakup. I think that's the easiest way to explain. We personally don't think there's a difference between the likelihood of us breaking up is not that, if we are a 2-person relationship, is not that different to if we're a 4-person relationship, as in it doesn't change. Breakups still happen. So I think it's not fair to assume that just because we stay in a 2-person relationship that we would be fine and happy and jolly. Then maybe like a lower likelihood of something, we stay together. But I also think that's not necessarily true, because if like, let's say one of us is restless as a result, I don't think it matters. So I really don't know how to answer this question. It's so complex.
So I think the answer is actually really easy. Taki's just making it sound complex. How I think of it is, if your fear of, let's say the fear of, so the question is, why would you do something that has a potential to end the relationship? Basically, it's the question, right?
Yes.
But there's so many things.
Such a logical question. And
there are so many things that can end up breaking a relationship. For instance, as soon as couples move in together, start living it together, that usually there's a higher likelihood of them breaking up. Right? Increased conflicts because you're in closer proximity to each other. Right? Marriage. For a lot of people, as soon as they marry, after a year, they realize that I was talking about the right idea. That they realize that, you know what, this is not it.
Yeah.
So I can guarantee you, if you look at the statistics, after people right after people start living together or they get married, there's probably a big spike of breakups.
After every decision
after every decision, shared finances. It could even be like meeting the family. Every single action has a potential to end the relationship. But if you always look at the potential for failure or the negative sides of doing something, then why would you even look for a relationship? Because more likely than not, most relationships end in a breakup.
That's true.
Most people in their lives, there's a reason why most people have multiple partners, is because it always ends up in a breakup.
That's true. See, like I've had 6 partners, and yeah, you're just more likely to break up than you are to stay together. That's the statistical reality.
So how I think of it is, there's no strong difference, to me at least. I'm sure to other people, everyone has a different opinion. There's no strong opinion to me whether or how at least we entered this quad compared to, say, moving in together, or even moving to Vietnam together, moving to another country together, or joining our finances. All of those are potentials that could lead to a breakup. But I see it more as calculated risk, because there's a benefit to everything as well. There's a reason why people, even though 4 out of 5 of your relationships will end in a heartbreak, literally heartbreak, you still go for the 6th one. Because you want and hope that there is better. And that's how I feel we went into this quad relationship. We understood the risks, but we also saw the benefits.
Hmm.
So it's all calculated risk.
I think probably a lot of you maybe don't see the benefits as we do because you're not in our position. So earlier I was talking about perspective and how everything that happens in life, people see it with the lenses from their eyes, which are shaded by their past experiences. So because maybe you haven't had experience with this type of situation, you might see it as more risky than we inherently did, which is neither is wrong or right. It's just a reminder that your perception of the risk that we're taking is not how we perceive the risk to be. So I think a lot of people are like, oh, yes, it's the same question, which I'm really glad you asked. So thank you for the question. It's like, aren't you scared you'll break up? And my long-winded answer before was that when we first got together, we had one of the things we discussed is like, what is the meaning of it for us? And it's new experiences because we think that makes life richer. And that's how we've approached every decision in our relationship, not just whether we end up in this 4-person relationship or not. This is like one decision of, I want to say maybe like 20 or like even 50 that you and I have made in our lives together as partners. And it's with the same core principles that we've made that decision. Some of you may have seen that Peter and I went to Burning Man. That decision to go to Burning Man was literally on a whim. I remember asking Peter, this sounds like crazy, amazing experience. Shall we go? And again, we're like, life is about new experiences. So we went together. When we got there, there was an activity that was offered, naked or wrestling. Peter and I were like, shall we try it? We were the only 2 out of our whole group that were willing to try it. So that's the kind of attitude that we have. I think as individuals, but it's probably, we kind of like egg each other on in some ways. Because I would not have done the naked or wrestling thing without you guys. I don't think you would have done it without me. So we're kind of each other's, again, support person. So yeah, everyone sees us putting this 4-person relationship online, or not everyone. A lot of people see it as, oh my God, this is so crazy. But little do they know that we are crazy people. I think reflect on the concept of a 4-person relationship not being normal. The fact that we are comfortable enough to put it out online, it says a little bit about us and the type of people that we are. And yeah, there's a lot of decisions that we do, which are not average or not normal. Moving from a developed country, Australia, to a developing country, Vietnam, is not something the majority of people do. Even Peter's like family kind of looks at him a bit weird. My family as well. They're like, why are you like, we struggled to move to Australia. Why are you trying to go back the other way? So yeah, we just do not we make decisions with a different set of perspective than I think an average person would. Not to say it's right or wrong. Again, it's just how the 2 of us are driven, and that's how our relationship has kind of developed, and that's the principles that our relationship has developed on.
What drives us in life isn't necessarily the same as most people, I would say. We just value life a little differently, and what we see as having a life worth lived, we live it differently, which is, I think, is the confusing part for a lot of people.
Yeah, so
in some ways, what we think is a life worth living is actually, in most ways, a life worth living for us is doing the things that other people aren't doing.
That's
true.
Agree? That's so true, because going to Burning Man and being in the desert for like 7 days already sounds batshit crazy to most people. And then when we got to the batshit crazy place, the batshit crazy people were already part of a group of batshit crazy people who went to the desert, and none of them wanted to do the batshit crazy thing, which is do naked or wrestling in front of everyone else. So like, we're the batshit craziest out of the batshit crazy people. So now that I reflect on all this, it makes 100% sense that we would do this. Wow, we are crazy.
Again, we didn't go out looking for this. We were the ones that did think of the idea first, and we're like, oh, this is like a fun thing. Let's try it, or let's ask if they're open to it. we knew that they would probably say yes. Actually, did we know at all? I can't remember.
I was fairly sure they would say yes.
Yeah, I think we were fairly sure because we vibed with them.
The vibes and we were just on the same wavelength, you could tell.
Yeah. Not exactly the same wavelength, but like close enough. The closest out of everyone else we've met.
Well, like we're not on the same wavelength either.
Yeah, we're closer than everyone else.
Yeah, correct. Exactly.
That's why we're together.
Yeah. Then the other thing I was saying is why would we say yes to something like this or decide to end up in a 4-person relationship? This is so interesting. The first half of this video was me like complaining about dying and all the work issues. And now this is my favorite thing to talk about. So if you have any other questions about this, I would love to answer them because I find it a genuinely fascinating topic. So why did we decide to try and pursue something?
As in the quad or just our lifestyle in general?
No, the quad. I think for me, I like to do shit that's outside the realms of what other people are going to do. It's a bit, maybe it's my ADHD, and if it's everyone else is doing it, it's like, okay, that's boring. So I like to at least consider things outside the realm of normal and see, do they work for me? And find a situation that works the best for me. What are the benefits, maybe, might I ask you, to this relationship? I think I've actually become, because now I have 2 additional perspectives on relationship situations, let's say arguments or whatever you want to call them, and even seeing Dan and Joelle argue, I feel like I'm more compassionate towards you when like you have no energy or you're shutting down. Even when I started asking, oh, can I talk to you? I think that came out of seeing the other two. Seeing Dan's energy level is also different because previously I just know my energy level and your energy level, and I'm just every day I'm like, why is your energy level so low, so much lower than mine? But then having Dan and Joelle, I can now also realize it sounds so self-explanatory, but different people have different energy levels, and that's like the reality of it. But I didn't process in my head. You could have told me that, but I wouldn't have understood it. So now, as a result, when I see you're really at another energy level, I ask you, can I talk to you? Because now I think you're so comfortable telling me like, no, you cannot talk to me. Which I feel like that's the biggest upgrade in our life in the past few months. Is me asking you when I can tell you're really low energy, can I talk to you? And you telling me no. Because I'm like, okay, good. He literally has no energy to talk. And I'm not upset because I know that you telling me that has avoided us getting into like an argument. Because sometimes I get frustrated because you talk to me because you have no energy, but you're talking to me in a tone like, why are you talking to me? But I obviously don't realize. And it's like, why is this guy angry at me for no reason? Yeah. So I think having more perspective from a relationship angle has helped a lot. And it's also made me realize again that society, everything happens in a very certain way. And you need to see whether that certain way suits you. Actually, the last batshit crazy thing I did, so when I was working in corporate, everyone else around me was going to buy 3-bedroom, 4-bedroom houses with huge ass mortgages. And literally they were getting married, having kids, all the normal stuff. And I decided, heck no, I'm not going to do this. And I got really into tiny homes. That was another thing that we connected on, interior designy stuff. So I went and bought a tiny apartment, a fifth of the cost of what everyone else was buying, which meant that I pretty much had very little debt because I'd saved a lot of money, and I could live in that apartment and not have to work when everyone else was still going to work on this like cycle. So that's another batshit crazy thing I did. Hey, I'm really crazy. I didn't realize how crazy I am.
I think we just have a very different approach to life. Or we realize what worked for other people didn't work for us, and we're comfortable enough to admit it and look for something that would make us happy.
But I must say it did take time. Because this question about like, aren't you afraid that your relationship might deteriorate? I'm just trying to, again, this is not a bad question, like great question, and thank you for asking because I'm sure heaps of people are thinking it. You could ask the same thing about when I bought the tiny house, the tiny apartment. Like, aren't you afraid that it will be a bad investment and it won't appreciate?
There's a bad, I guess, possibly a bad outcome for everything. So it's just how you look at it.
Yes. But I think the thing that I've learned recently is make a decision, be optimistic about it.
But also, don't regret your decision. That's because when you made the decision, you literally had all the information you can. You did all you could.
That's another one of our core values. Yesterday, I think I cut it out because the damn vlog was too long, but I was talking about the printer. I was talking about how nice the new printer was and that I don't have to sit in the heat and don't have to turn it on. And then I was saying, oh my God, we bought the cheap $60 printer to start and it kind of wasted money. But I was like, hang on, that's not a fair judgment because at the time we bought the $60 printer, it was the right decision at the time because we didn't know how much we were printing and we just needed something simple. So yes, that is one huge commonality that Peter and I also shared, in which we agreed on from the very start. We don't regret decisions that we've made because when you made it for a reason. Yeah, so literally YOLO.
But also, I never really thought about if the quad would ruin the relationship. I was just like, that would never happen.
Yeah.
And it's not blind optimism. I just don't see it happening.
Yes, same.
I don't know how to describe
That's true.
it.
I think that's what I was trying to explain before as well, which I really struggled to articulate. It doesn't cross my mind.
I think
It didn't cross my mind.
I think it's because this is how I always describe it. It's a 2+2 quad, whereas I think if it was like the polyfuels is aligned.
Like a 2+1, like 2+1 thruple or like 2+1+1.
I feel that would be a lot more hectic and dramatic. And from what I've seen from friends of friends, it's a lot more difficult. But a 2+2 I've never seen, and also it seems the easiest.
Yeah, I think we've realized there's a lot of stability from having another person to lean on. And same on Joel and Dan's side. They have each other. And then when we're together, we have the four of us, which is great. And then Peter gets a break from me wanting cuddles. Yes. And I feel like you don't complain about that. Neither does Dan. Dan and Peter are like, thank God these idiots are leaving us alone finally.
You don't think that?
You guys do. You guys just scroll on your phone silently in peace. Especially when Joel's always goes to Dan. So I see, like, don't want a hug. And then Dan's always like, no, I want. And he's only saying I want because Joel wants. He doesn't actually want to give a hug. You know? Am I right?
He's just saying it so that
Joel
doesn't get upset.
Yes, correct. But that's why the four of us work together. Yeah. Dan, this has been a very long answer to a very simple but yet not simple question, and I hope that answers the question. And I need to end this vlog because it is over time.
Tiki said it would just be 5 minutes.
But wasn't it an exciting question? Like, I felt energized.
He came into the room and said, you have to help me, Peter. I am struggling out there.
I'm like,
it is a war zone and I am not winning the war.
No, I said I don't know. There's too many ways to answer the question. I didn't know how to answer the question. Okay, this thing needs to end. I've only got what's it called? A certain amount of time. So we use Adobe Podcast to process the audio, but the free version only allows you up to a certain time limit. And I do not want to do like a double cut export and then do two things. That's too tiring. Okay, guys, we'll see you tomorrow. And hopefully there'll be more cool questions like that one. Bye, guys.